Will you look back when you're old and grey and think those dumb kids had a lot to say when we were trying to make this night one you'd remember? I don't care if my wheels don't turn, I don't care if my pipe don't burn, as long as I am flowing through your veins after I'm gone away.
It's Thursday night, and you know what that means.
It's time for Themeatically Speaking, and I'm looking forward to tonight's show. But first, I just want to say next week we're going to have, first in a long time, I'm going to say the catchphrase next week. So
Why?
It's got to be done. But without further ado, we are going to introduce, I guess, first we have got Rob Jackson. How you doing, Rob?
I am very good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
And we got Theme Park Guide's very own Josh Dutton.
Oh.
Boo!
I thought you were referencing the start of my vlog the other day. Ginger Brown here as well, and the Thompson Life. I'm going to go straight into the curse because that's what everyone wants to talk about. But I actually had someone who I don't know if he's going to be able to watch live called Dan Sheldrake, and he wanted us to briefly chat about Alton Towers being open potentially all year round. So do we quickly want to get that out of the way, and then we can talk about the curse?
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on that, Rob?
If I'm being totally honest, this is actually the first time hearing about this because I will hold my hands up. I will hold my hands up straight away. I am not as involved in the massive nerd scene as I once was, probably like 10 years ago.
Basically, the local council, I think it's just Stoke, it might be Staffordshire, have said we'd like Alton Towers to be open all year round because it's good for the local economy. But I thought, well, if it was good financially for Alton Towers, surely they'd already been doing it.
I mean, it basically is, right? It basically is all year round, pretty much.
Almost.
Apart from the rides, I mean, you're open. I think there's only like 2 weeks, 3 weeks between November and December where it's like closed, and then between like Jan and Feb, because they even open Feb. They didn't used to open Feb often, but they do.
I don't think they're going to open anymore unless the council go, okay, you're bringing in business, so we're going to give you a bit of a kickback for it. Because if it was money for them, they'd already be doing it.
Do you think they're doing it now because of, do you know, with the fact that they normally have like the Christmas event with the Lightopia, and obviously they've gone, and then obviously they're making up for it now. I'm not making any sense, but you know what I mean.
No, it's the council.
It is the council.
It's the council saying we'd like them. Alton Towers haven't said anything. It's the council just turning around and going, it's good for the local area. We want them open all year round.
Yeah, sorry. I've not really read into that much with media about.
Well, I've done that now, so Dark Adder's going to be happy. But first, I just want to say, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about the curse in detail. So that's covered me now. That's covered me from any backlash. Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about the curse in detail.
It literally covered us all.
Well, that's quite nice because I was actually quite worried of just blurting out a spoiler and everybody going, "Oh!"
So
if anybody's going to do that, it's me.
I talked about this last week. I'll ask Josh first. What did you think about, before we talk about the ride, what did you think about the advertising and then the photos they released the week prior to it opening?
Well, so I never really pay attention to advertising anyway, because it's never, let's be honest, it's never really that accurate. I mean, you think across history of even just towers, but Merlin's real. They never get them advertising quite right. So I never really pay attention to it. I'm like, oh, that looks cool, but I never go, oh, that's going to be the representative of the attraction. And then the photos inside, I thought looked good. Because again, because I wasn't really associating the marketing with the actual ride. I think I didn't despise them as much. I guess despise probably a strong word, but yeah, I guess the photos inside, I saw a lot of the Easter eggs, and I was worried that it was going to be overbearing on the ride, like it was just going to be fan service the ride. Thankfully,
yeah,
that's not the case. It is kind of the start and the end, and the middle is kind of its own narrative. So yeah, I think they were showing off the wrong bits, I think. But they were probably the best bits to take photos of, I guess.
What did you think about it, Rob?
again, like Joss, I was trying not to look. I've been personally avoiding like any forums or social media speculation because I wanted to try. I knew it would be a better experience if I went in knowing as little as possible going in, but unfortunately, as always, it's very hard to avoid anything at all. So very much I agree with Joss. I don't say I wasn't impressed when I saw the photographs that Alton Towers leaked out. It was just a case of I knew that the scenes wouldn't look like that in the ride. So obviously taking everything with a pinch of salt, particularly lighting wise. There was a lot of people I'd noticed saying, oh, they don't particularly look, well lit or anything. But what you've got to remember is in a dark ride, when you take a promotional photo like that, you've got to have lots of lights on for the camera. Whereas when you see it by the naked eye, you don't have much light at all. The human eye can pick up much more. The advert I thought was quite good. I quite liked that. Again, like Joss, I try to take it with a pinch of salt because, again, from previous experience, adverts don't often line up quite with the ride. 13 is probably a good example. Yeah, no, it was one of those things where I can't say much because I was trying to avoid it. I think my only slight annoyance was, I can't remember if it was the night before opening day or if it was opening day morning itself when I logged on and one page had gone and put a couple of pictures of the pre-show in the drawing room. And I literally, I had that moment of going, I wish you hadn't put it. Although I couldn't tell exactly what was going on, it was just a moment where I thought, okay, I don't think there should be. As I say, it's a case of I was trying to go in knowing as little as possible. So that was a little bit of a sad moment.
Yeah.
Did you see any, by accident, did you see any of the ITV stuff? Because they released stuff the day before as well.
Joss told me about it that morning. I didn't see any of that. I was quite happy I didn't.
Oh, I just want to say to the Iconic Geek before we start, I did put this disclaimer at the start. We're going to be talking about it in great detail, so if you don't want it spoiled for you.
It's entirely to you, Iconic Geek. Stay sparkly.
So, opening day, I don't know if we want to talk about the atmosphere around the attraction before we actually go into detail about what's inside it.
Foggy.
Very foggy.
Well, it's fog fluid. So it's like boxes of it behind that wall. You know when they had the wall around it at the end of the last season?
Yeah.
Managed to get around the back and see just box after box of dense fog fluid.
But yeah, I believe that was for the press night the previous night, which was nice for him to keep it there on for opening day because it did add for that, I guess special opening day vibe. But yeah, the atmosphere was great. Everyone was right into it, I believe.
It's a very weird feeling when, like, pretty much as far back as I can remember, even because I first went to Towers in 2006, and so as far back as I can remember, Gloomy Wood has always been a very empty place people-wise.
It's
and
like
then to suddenly step in there that morning and the place was just a sea of people as far as you could see, which granted isn't very far, but still, the amount of people in that small area was incredible.
Yeah.
I think people expected more when it first opened. I know a lot of people, I don't know if you heard about it. Josh, did you do the pop-up event in London?
James did.
Because there was a clock in there that said that was at 12 o'clock. So a lot of people were reporting, it's rumored to open at 12. And I thought, that's a waste. And then when it got to almost 11, and just before it opened, I thought, they're going to make us wait till 12, aren't they?
Well, yeah,
we got to the point where we started taking bets on it, didn't we, Joss?
Yeah. Yeah, so, once going onto the ride, that bit of the pop-up made sense because it's all based around New Year's Eve, and the disaster happened on New Year's Eve. So the 12 midnight, clock strikes midnight, made perfect sense once you got into it.
Do you want to talk about the pre-show before we talk about the ride? Because I had a real big problem. I went on it about 5 times, and the first time we hit it perfect, but every other time, if we wanted to hear the whole pre-show, we had to kind of wait for it to start again and then hear the whole thing. It wasn't like you batched to hear it.
That's the only problem with it, but because you do need to watch it all, but at the same time, with the dual pre-existing ride system. It churns through people. So I'm glad they didn't split it up into a separate pre-show, because otherwise the throughput of the ride would inadvertently probably get a bit messed up, because there'll be a long time with that in the station where there's no people powering through. So they'll be sending 15 cars around without anyone on. So I'm glad they didn't batch it in like a traditional pre-show. But again, yeah, if you want to catch it all, it's thankfully we did. I only did it once on the Saturday, and thankfully we caught it basically bang on. But
I'll agree with Coaster Chicken on this one. You kind of felt a bit hurried through the pre-show, but there was a lot of people, wasn't there?
A lot of people waiting, letting other people through.
Yeah,
It was an odd
or
situation.
people going around you as you were trying to watch the pre-show as well. But
the problem I found was it wasn't particularly people being hurried through the pre-show, because unlike Joss, I did it a second time later in the day. I found it was more a problem of you had people wanting to watch the pre-show, but they were standing at the far back end of the room and kind of blocking, because it's not particularly a wide walkway now.
No, it's not made for that, is it?
When you used to walk on the floor, it was quite wide. I believe it wasn't originally when it first opened in '92, and then they opened it out a bit. But so what happens is you end up with people about halfway in the room blocking the access point, so that all people start queuing down the side of the room, and then no one else can see the pre-show. So only like 4 people can see it properly.
I think they should have centralized it a little bit, but I suppose they've had to work with what they've already got, haven't they, in a way?
Yeah, because they spent all that. They spent that time a few years back making that changing that route a bit, so the disabled entrance can go through the entrance rather than the exit. So yeah, I imagine they were very against ripping that out when it's only been in for like 2 years. Yeah, I mean, batching people, I
agree with Joss on that one, because it's a different system to Wicker Man, isn't it? It's constantly
batching people. You'd either have to do it at the entrance, like before you enter the manor, and then essentially play the pre-show as they're walking through to prevent that batching. But again, the people at the front aren't going to see it to the end, and the people at the end are not going to see the start. So it'd be a really difficult batching system unless you completely, like I say, send cars around empty.
So the only way it would work really, in a way it wouldn't work at all, because you'd have to totally redo it, is if you had a longer pre-show. Like, I mean, Hex is a great example of this, where, the outside batching area in that little show bit there is, probably about a minute at the most. And then you go in and the film's probably about 2 minutes. So that then, you don't have any you don't have a moment where people are leaving the pre-show room as other people are entering, because that's where it would get a bit.
Yeah, you basically need another 2 pre-shows in order to balance.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tricky.
I was going to say the Iconic Geeks actually put a question here saying, have they reinvented the original Ghost Train, or is it completely different?
It's a bit half and half. I think what we'll do is we'll quickly run through the actual ride bit by bit and talk about it. But it's very similar. The ride system hasn't really changed that much.
No.
But the books have moved, and you can.
The books have moved.
You can fit an extra person.
You have 6 people in it now, but if you haven't got 6 people in your group, then that chair's wasted. To be fair.
Yeah, and you can tell it's designed for 1992 bodies, because it's a little bit tight in the back.
I think you'll find the term is cozy.
Yeah, it is cozy. Definitely.
So, I'm not sure how much detail I want to go into. So the station has got if you've not been on it, it's got paper chains. I've not got any pictures inside, by the way. I didn't want to do that, but just thought I'd put some of these up while we talk. But it's got paper chains on the ceiling, and it says Happy New Year 1892, I think it is.
Yes, it is 1892.
Yeah.
And every time I went on it, I just shouted Happy New Year. And I thought
everybody in the line was like, Happy New Year, Matt.
It wasn't planned, but we watched The Simpsons the other night, and it was the Itchy and Scratchy Land one.
Oh my God.
And when they go to the bar, and she says to the guy, "You must love celebrating New Year every day." And I went, I bet that's what it's going to be like on the Curse a few days time.
Yeah. Literally.
Do you reckon the staff are going to recognise you, Mike? So every time you walk in and go, Happy New Year, they're going to go, oh, it's you again.
So, yeah, it goes around to that first room. you got that slow room. I don't know how to describe that. That bit where you come around the corner, the walls are moving on the side still.
So you've still got the breathing walls.
I believe the original name for it was the possessed room, which is probably the easiest way I can describe it.
Yeah.
What, that first bit, just straight out the station?
Where the walls are cracking.
Oh, where the walls are cracking, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure in the original notes for the 92 version, it was something like the poltergeist room or something like that. I can't quite remember.
So yeah, there's an additional bit of some projection mapping in that first bit of like a block exploding. So I don't know the best way to describe it.
On the lock, yeah.
So that's obviously in the same room.
It's harking back to the pre-show where they show the house becoming possessed by this evil spirit. I mean,
yeah.
Whenever you see the evil spirit, it's kind of the easiest way I can describe it is like an ominous purple glow.
Yeah,
which reminds me of the purple slime that they got from Ghostbusters for some reason. So maybe they're Ghostbuster fans here, the people, John Burton and everything. But that's what I think anyway.
So yes, a lot of the effects are actually the same effects, but they've repurposed them a bit. Like, so that head coming out, you've then got a stained glass window, but it doesn't actually come out at you; it just flashes. Mm-hmm. Then in the dining room, you've got skeletons. I thought they could use Pepper's ghosts, so the skeletons look like people, and then you see them. Because I feel like we're walking in on something after it's happened, and I'd like to see the actual event of her killing people.
See, we didn't see that.
I was surprised at that because when I saw one of the press photos, which was all skeletons at the table, I was imagining something a bit like Joss. I don't know if you can remember when we went to Wallaby, Belgium, and they had that dual-style ride, but it was ancient Egyptian themed.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a fantastic Pepper's ghost effect in that. I can't remember the name of the ride. I'm sure we'll find it out sooner or later. But
I've been on that.
Yeah. Anubis, I think. Or
it's got two different endings, hasn't it?
Yes.
It's three, actually.
It's three? Jeez.
Yeah, but basically there's a scene where you're sort of going down a corridor and there's a lady, a bit like Lara Croft Tomb Raider, stood looking at the car and basically she's doing a sort of no, don't go any further, waving her hands like that. And you've got the animatronic doing that. But there's a big sheet of glass with Pepper's ghost effect, and she literally turns into a skeleton standing up before your eyes. I was kind of expecting something like that in the little alcove bit where the screen bus used to be.
Yeah.
But that's
I can see it. Go on.
Well, I was just going to continue the next bit. Down that hallway, they've got those mirrors there still, but they're not hiding anything this time. There's no jump out. Then you get a screen with Emily on it, and then a massively bright light just blinds you. And the first time I went on it, it stopped at the start, I think, to let someone with a wheelchair on. So no effects were working in that room up to that point. So when we came round the corner, that thing on the ceiling actually made us jump because we've been going through pitch black. And then suddenly that thing above you made me jump.
Yeah, I literally went, oh, and you did as well. We both went, oh, and then carried on.
And then, that's Backwards Man. He was one of the roaming actors. I haggled him down to $1 million. It was 1.9 million if you walk in the foyer for the house. I haggled him down to $1 million.
Oh, it's 1,992,000.
What did you think about the use of blacklight? Because the next bit there were a few times they used it in there, but the next bit had a nursery door, and when you got closer to it, nursery, the word changed to misery.
I didn't actually notice that.
I didn't notice.
That nursery door on the right, if you keep looking at it as you pass, it changes to misery because it's blacklight.
As they say, it's one of those rides where the more you go through it, the more you'll notice. So that's one thing I didn't notice.
Yeah, so I definitely need to go on it a lot more because I only did it once because I was a bit time pressured. I basically spent the whole first ride going, oh, that's not there anymore. Oh, that's something different now. So I probably missed a lot of the like sort of nuancy bits. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting on it a lot more.
I quite enjoyed the blacklight and stuff because even when it was in the pre-show as well.
In the pre-show, it was really good.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh my word, it's like, I don't know, something magically appears in front of you and you're like, oh, and it's, I don't know.
It was that moment where suddenly we all felt like we were in The Shining with all the writing.
Yeah.
And we were
Is that the film with Red Rum?
But it worked. Simple yet effective. It gave us all a reaction, and I think that's the thing. I felt quite pleasantly surprised by most of the ride, to be fair. So
Rob, did you
Yeah.
want to talk about the Trumbull tunnel that it's fixed?
I can do. I didn't know. It has been fixed, but hilariously, I wasn't focused on the Trumbull tunnel at first. Basically, whenever I went on Duel, that little zombie by the Trumbull tunnel entrance used to get me every time.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
expecting that to be replaced with like a doll or something.
On the first time we went through, I was kind of, because I was on the front, on the very right-hand side where it would have been nearest, I was just there going, nope, don't you get me. I can see the walls being redone, but I don't trust you. And then I felt really annoyed.
I actually missed that laugh as well with the loud noises of that one.
I think the best bit is there's a large clock at the end that's spinning. It
That's a
really adds
cool
to the effect.
Yeah, it's timed to this trommel, so it makes you really disorientated even more so than a normal trommel would.
I have a question though. Did you notice the picture before you went in that tunnel?
On the left.
On the left.
Possibly.
No.
It reminded me of Aladdin.
It basically is. I think it must have been Emily's mum that had a torch, and they were looking in the cave, and it had the original cave of the tunnel. Do you know? With
the Trumbull tunnel with the original place. Had that as a picture, but it was a cave.
But I kept looking at it. I was like, wow, that's that. Oh wow! And then we're actually going in it. So it's little things like that. I've kind of noticed the pictures. So for those that haven't been on, make sure you have a look at the pictures as you go along if you kind of get.
There's no donut burger at the chicken place anymore.
Oh, no.
So we're going to get a petition going for that.
Outrageous.
But the weirdest, it was one of my favourite bits. The next room where you used to have the bats, and you see Emily stood there, and for some reason I thought it was a great room because it looked like an actual living room rather than. Although we know we're on a dark ride, but it actually just looked like a normal living room. I was like, this is great. This looks like what it's meant to be.
that part actually reminded me of do you know, like you get that camera shot where someone stood and like the background goes back and the character goes forward, but because you're kind of moving towards it felt like that effect to me.
I turned
it was like,
the last couple of times
that's the one shot I don't like.
The last couple of times we went on, I turned round to look at, it's kind of like a filter on the light that makes that shadow behind her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just looking at that the last couple of times. So I was like, oh, what's up there making that shape? It's quite good though, because there's people that have not been on it. There's a shadow behind her, and it turns into like a monster.
Yeah,
it's very well done. That.
Yeah.
And then the next bit is kind of, there used to be two kind of S-bends with zombies coming out the windows. There's one that's in complete dark, and she's saying she's trying to find you, like you're playing hide and seek. Now, the one thing I want to say about this bit and a few other bits, people are saying Alton Towers have said they're going to add things in later on.
No.
And to me, that sounds like when you're on The Apprentice doing a pitch and they're going, oh, we can add this to the product later. I'm like, what's going on? it works how it is anyway. I felt like I was playing hide and seek.
Because it is definitely, it's supposed to be like a binaural audio effect. So it sounds like she's all around you, which obviously works better if you're in a pitch black room than you can see all around you, because it just ruins, you clearly your eyes go, hang on a second, what I'm hearing isn't right. Where in the black room, it's really, it makes it more effective.
Did you think the black room worked well? Because that's the main criticism I heard of other people.
That's the only criticism, but I think people are missing the fact that that's
the whole point.
It's supposed to be like, I think it's supposed to be like almost, playing hide and seek, almost like you've got your hands over your eyes, like counting, I guess.
It's one of those things that I can understand why people have a criticism of it, but my main giveaway from it, having been on it and then having had people talk about what was meant to happen at that point, is obviously, apparently the audio is meant to be, it's like you go over one side and you hear Emily on the right, so the car goes back to the right, and then you hear it on the left. I think it's simply a case of they can't judge how loud the audio needs to be when there's the whole ride is full of people, because naturally you've got people screaming often scenes before and after you, so that kind of dulls out some of the audio bits, because we didn't quite hear it on the first time round, just simply because of other ambient noise in the ride. On the second time round we could hear it, but not quite loud as if it was right in the car with us. So I think it's possibly just a case of, now that they're sort of coming up to their first full week of operation, they've probably been able to tweak the audio and make it louder where it needs to be, so you can hear it in the dark.
And the
Yeah, I agree with that.
and then the
Sorry.
next kind of there's like another bend where there used to be zombies as well, if I remember rightly, and that's got some puppets in it, and that's meant to be a perfect family she's made. And then a hand comes up from above
Perfect family.
and says they found you. But the next bit was very much you knew what was coming up because they just redressed the props almost.
Yeah.
When you got the zombie coming from the right hand side, and then I was sat on the left the first time I wrote it, so I was like, "Oh, the zombie on the left's going to come up in a minute, but dressed as a doll instead."
No, that was. Are you scared of spiders?
Yeah, it comes just after that.
I must admit, as soon as that question came up, I was like, "Yes, they kept the question." I just got a bit too enthusiastic about that. But
I'll ask both of you this: but is this ride meant to in any way be? Are they building a universe around, kind of in the same universe as the attic maze? Because that's the next bit. That's the kind of impression I got. But I don't know if it's related to that in any way.
I imagine there's probably some inspiration from it, but the stories are very different, but it's from the attic. But maybe
I'm just more surprised how many, shall we say, attractions we've had at Alton now, where the main antagonist always seems to be a creepy little girl. I think this is our third now.
Always female as well.
Yeah.
No other.
Might be the same girl from 13.
It's always a girl.
Oh wait, no, I forgot the attic. That's probably 4 now.
well, there's technically a little hex hint, Easter egg on the doll's house in the pre-show.
Was there? I missed that.
Yeah, on the very. If you at the very end of the queue line, if you turn back towards the doll's house, there's a little sticker on the side of the doll's house that says Alton Oak and a picture of the chained oak.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm going to have to look for that.
I have to look at that. Huge Hex fan.
But yeah, maybe there's probably influences, but maybe I don't necessarily think related. Maybe same time period and stuff like that, but Victorian style. I don't know.
So then we had the spider bit come up, and there was a new effect on the side with some spiders jumping up, some small ones. They went through the attic, and this big spider was still there, wasn't it? But it had been done up a bit. It looked like an actual spider rather than a rave.
I think as if I went in, like, obviously if I was a lot younger and went in for the first time, I think that spider would still probably spook me. But I'd be like, wow, at the same time because I like spiders. So yeah. Yeah.
And then the next bit is my probably favourite bit of the whole ride.
I was going to say it's my favourite bit.
Did you want to say what happens, Joss?
Yeah, you can fill me in in case I missed some bits. But essentially, in the room that used to have the skeleton toilet and the demon sons pulling the lever, you go down the straight corridor and there's a mirror to your right, and it's essentially like you become you're in the train and in the car. You disappear, and then Emily's sat in the car. But it's actually the trick behind it is there's a car, the same car ride vehicle, basically going at the same pace as you on the opposite side of this mirror. So it's a really effective trick and a really good practical effect.
Was that your favourite bit as well?
Yeah, I think so.
I wasn't expecting that.
I did. I turned you on the shoulder. Oh, my!
Yeah, I couldn't see it the first time. The second time I went on, I was sat on the right and I was just looking at the right constantly for that bit.
Oh, and that's what.
So it could be worse. On my first go through, I missed it because I was looking up. I was expecting the flying ghost back.
I was sat on the left my first time, but I was also looking to the left because I wanted to see what was there instead of the vampire woman, and there wasn't really anything there. So I was just looking there constantly, like something's going to happen.
But it kind of reminded me of, I can't remember the effect of it, but I remember years ago I went to like Eureka Museum and like you had to pedal on a bike, and as you pedaled to the mirror to the right of you, and it actually turned into a skeleton. Yeah, and I remember that from a very young age, and I just immediately went back to that memory when I saw it, and I was like, oh, it's like Eureka!
And then we probably went from the best effect to probably probably my least favorite bit of the ride, with those ghosts usually fly overhead. They've just been changed to look like wraiths kind of thing, but they're still faces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there wasn't any. Well, at least on my only ride, there wasn't many sound effects in there. I don't know if that was just because
was the wraith at the end? Did it breathe out?
Breathe out smoke. Yeah.
Later in the day, it wasn't doing that.
Yeah, no, it wasn't doing that. Like, I can't remember it breathing out smoke at all, if I'm honest. But that's, it's, if you send 4 people in, you get 4 different opinions of what happened.
Yeah.
From my experience of it, it was a case that only seemed to be the last 2 heads that were there anymore.
There were a lot less heads in there.
I didn't see the one that comes out on the big boom arm at the end, and the one that's where the troll demon used to be. They were working fine, but I didn't see any before that, which I was quite surprised at.
There was the ones that fly overhead, but they were they weren't very lit. They weren't lit very well. But they were definitely there. But I don't know. Like I say, I only just caught the ones flying overhead. I was like, oh yes, I can tell there's something going above me, but I can't really make out any defining features. But yeah, that's I imagine that's probably the one room they'll, I guess, make tweaks to.
Well, of course, everything will get tweaks to it.
Oh yeah.
As much as you can plan
and
build as much as you can plan and build a ride, until you actually get an entire, full public riding on it, you can't really judge everything.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff, Coach Chicken, that I heard of people before the ride opened that was going to be used in there and didn't. But there's a lot of rumours about that people made up because there wasn't any information before the ride opened. But then the next bit was the garden, and it's the same as before, really, except everything seems to be voodoo dolls and there's a yarn. But what I really want to get to, I don't know if he understands how it works now, and I'm not
the figment effect.
The effect on the swing, Dan from Ginger and Brown, I remember we were saying to him when we went for a drink after, it was during the day at some point, and he didn't understand how the swing effect worked, and we kept explaining it to him, but he kind of said, so I don't know if one of you wants to try and explain it. He might know how it works now, but
again, Joss, it's all yours. I remember Emily swinging, but I can't remember anything particular.
Oh, yeah, if you looked back, she disappeared.
Excuse me.
Oh, did she?
The swing was there.
So the swing's there, but she's not. She's not.
No, sorry. I think I was distracted by the majesty of the next scene through the archway.
Yeah. I mean, you can go ahead, Mike, because I don't even think I know fully how
he
it works.
gets it now. Basically, when you see her from the first side, she looks like a normal person. It's just a mirror in the middle with a mannequin on one side. So when you go round, there's nothing there.
And the only reason why we know that is because it stopped that point, and then we were like,
I already knew how that effect was done, but yeah, that was one of the times I went on that 5 times, and the first 3 rides I had on that out of the 5 all day, it stopped at some point.
We stopped,
and a couple of the times the effects turned off and didn't turn on again until we'd been moving a while.
Hence on the blog where I said Mike's cursed because it kept stopping for him, but then I went with another group, and it went a straight run through.
Yeah, that's always been a problem with Door, and it sounds like because of the amount of triggering effects, it's causing a bit of a problem on this ride.
I do wonder if they should put less carriages. That's the only
thing.
No,
probably. The throughput would be abysmal.
Obviously, it's first day. I thought it worked pretty well.
Oh yeah, it was decent when the ride was working.
Yeah,
you just need another station.
Yeah,
but you just need to build a second ride next to it. Exactly the same. So the throughput.
First ride through the pre-show.
Yeah.
Second one in that bit.
And then that's how modern systems would work. So you have a accessibility station, and then it joins onto the main system. But the system is not quite up there. It's a very simple system.
And then the last bit was the rest of it is. I'm gonna go over quickly, and then you can add to it. But it's just I'm assuming we get shrunk down. We go in a doll's house, and there's a gift tag before you go in. I noticed that said from mum and dad, and then there's a few things in there like.
I didn't see that one. I missed that.
It's just when she's swinging on the right, there's a tag across the arch that says from mum and dad.
That's why I was distracted by.
And then you go in this doll's house, and there's a few creepy effects. But what I liked was the fact there was the duck from the flume in there, which it isn't the same duck now, is it? I was saying to myself that looks a lot smaller. And then people saying that's not the same duck they used in the flume. It's different.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because it looks a lot smaller when it's on the floor and you're going past it.
But at the same time, you've got to remember when you saw it on the flume, your head was sort of floor level, and it was coming down at you. So.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing of relevance in that last bit, apart from all the Easter eggs, because most of them were in there, I thought, was the photo bit, you actually see a giant Emily Alton and prop, and it's her face and her hand coming down just for the photo.
Mhm.
And then I don't know if any of you want to elaborate on any parts in that doll's house bit.
Well, I mean, for starters, Mike, the one bit of audio I did hear that was right, as you go into the doll's house, I can't remember how she starts. It's like a two-part phrase. She starts by saying, like, let's go into the doll's house or something like that. But then she definitely says, it's time to shrink you down.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so you are getting shrunk.
So you do get shrunk down. My favourite part probably is of the whole doll's house sequence is probably just after you've had the photo point, as you're where the cars bunch up again, where the big gargoyle is, where the dragon used to come out in the haunted house days. If you look at the wall on the left, I didn't notice it until the second time I went through, but there's a big mouse trap, and it has a key where the bait would be, and just above it has the brilliant words, "You're free to go, here's the key," and points to the key on the mouse trap.
I like that.
Yeah, I thought
I
that was
like
really
that a
cool.
lot. I like
But
that.
yeah, the doll's house is Easter egg central. Like you've got Bjorn and matchstick like matches. You've got a little toy card. There's Queen of Speed on it. You've got.
I don't think I saw everything. I don't think I saw that.
Yeah, literally to the left of the match box. It's quite hard to see. We stopped at that point, so I got to read it a bit better. And the year, and it says the year on it is also 05.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's, that is quite a big Easter eggy bit. But like I say, you saw quite a few in the promo images, but when you're actually on the ride, they are a lot harder to spot. And as well as the other ones that we've talked about that some of us didn't even spot. So,
what did you think about it in general, Joss? Because I suppose you only got on it. Did you get on it only once, or did you go twice?
Only once. Yeah, I was only there for about half the day. So,
so how would you rate it compared to? I'll ask Rob in a minute because me and Rob have been there at least twice.
I mean, compared to Duel, 1,000 times better. At least, especially in its from like 2019 onwards, when they did I think it was 2019 when they did the Towers Loving Care and they just splattered UV paint everywhere.
It was a rave.
Pretty much. It's way better than that, but I think it's, even if Duel wasn't there before, I think it still stands out as a solid attraction. It's good. A lot of people online are going, "Oh, you're only saying it's good because it's better than what was there before," and I think no, it does stand out on its own sort of little pedestal. As yes, there are bits that are the same as Duel, but if you haven't been on it before, you wouldn't know. So if you ignore that, I think it does.
What did you think, Rob?
Again, like Joss, I was very impressed. Actually, I mean, I'm. This isn't in any disrespect to the team at all that worked on it at all, but it's a case of I just set my expectations fairly low, shall we say. I mean, I was going into it kind of expecting it to be just Duel, but with the zombies taken out and a couple of little bits, a couple of new props added in. But no, I really liked it. Really impressed. It surprised me how much I enjoy the projection mapping stuff that was put into it, because I mean, if anybody asks me on a good day, they'll know that I certainly prefer physical effects over projection mapping effects. But no, they really augmented really well into the attraction, and certainly the re-rideability on it is up. As Joss says, it stands up as its own attraction, which is quite nice in a way that, although it is, although there are large amounts of Duel and to an extent the haunted house still in there, they very much made it its own thing. It's a very different beast compared to what came before, and that helps it a lot, certainly. But yeah, I really, really impressed.
Oh, so that was just a random question that popped up there.
especially for the turnaround as well.
Oh yeah,
for the time.
8 months, I think.
Yeah.
I think they're going to use that queue line in a few weeks. What do you think?
Well, I was speaking to someone who done some work on it, and they don't expect that full queue line to be used all the time. But you notice in the queue line they had the little placards that tell the story, or the little
Was that a strip light as well? Like along the, or was that just a normal electric wire? There was kind of like a wide cord along the side.
I think that was for all the lighting because they've added a load of permanent lighting in there, in the garden, in the graveyard. But yeah, they're probably not going to use that forward queue line. But all the story elements are designed to be on the main queue path. Like you'd never go around the queue and not see all those.
Yeah. I was going to say the only one
story box.
The only one that isn't is the one on the brick tower.
Yeah.
That's the only one you would go through and see every time, which I think was just about. I think it starts talking off about the curse on New Year's Eve.
I think you would go through all of them if they don't cut off them. Because there's the one that you used to always go through, but just before where the old queue line starts, there's one. So you'd get two potentially.
No. I think that was beyond the extension queue. The first one. I think it's about over halfway up the hill.
You know,
let's check.
This wasn't planned, but this is going to be a good segue because I might as well do this now.
Okay.
I've got a quiz, and what I've done is I've got some of the gravestones from the queue line, and I've covered up the second half of what it says. So I want you to try and guess
what it says.
See if you can guess at home, guys.
Yeah, people can put it in the comments as well.
I say just Nervous Trek's got a question though, but we'll have a look at it in a bit, I think.
Yeah, Nervous Trek want to know if I can't answer this. But
I know this one.
I don't know if it
is it similar to the Cursed Dark Castle at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg?
That's where they built the new road.
No, I don't know.
I don't think it's going to be similar to that.
I'm not sure. You'll have to let us know if you do ever go there, Nervous Trek, and then we'll have a look.
It's similar. It's similar. The fact that it has the word curse in it.
Yeah.
Right, so this one says if the picture's too small, it says in memory of William Brown.
People in the chat can put it up.
People in the chat are going to be checking their photographs on the weekend.
Now.
I don't know the answer, but I can make one up. He fell in the well and then he drowned.
That's a bit morbid.
Oh.
I mean, it's a gravestone. It's got to be morbid, surely.
I get it, though. You're trying to rhyme.
It's not going to be. Oh, here's Steve. He did all right.
He slipped on the
He lived. There's grave. There's no grave here.
It's something to do with crown. I don't remember.
I can't tell you,
guys.
It's something to do with the. I'll give you a clue. The word that rhymes with brown is down.
Down. Oh.
Oh, I can't say it's easy.
He fell down.
This is the gravestone that was held up by a piece of wood. It was like broken in half.
Yes, it was, wasn't it?
Yes.
In fact, I can see said piece of wood in the photo.
Do you give up or?
Yeah.
What's that branch on the right's been superimposed on the picture there?
Stood at the
It was in memory of William Brown was 6 foot up, now 6 foot down.
Now 6 foot down.
No.
I don't know if anyone at home knew that. I think
that's the sound of him when he's gone to ground.
Memento Mori, Matthew Corey. I remember I said this on the day. This is the one that said 29th of February 1842, and that year didn't have a 29th of February. I remember I got everyone.
Is it memento to Matthew Corey who fell through the space-time continuum?
Oh.
I don't know how you get that to rhyme.
Always want to tell his own story.
Story? It's his story. I don't know if we want me to give. We're not doing points anyway, but
I'm just trying to help, guys. You think it's the Oblivion one, Ben and Holly?
Do you want me to?
The previous one.
Cool.
I'll show you. Ignored in life. Now same on story.
Okay.
Sank into Oblivion. He did get it right. Mentioned Oblivion, Ben and Holly. Well done.
Could you see Oblivion before? Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, he just said he thinks it's the Oblivion one. There you go.
Underneath this humble soil, I think that says.
Humble stone.
Stone. Yeah, it's stone.
I was about to recite the entire thing then, but I thought, no, I better not.
Well, yeah, you want to get the answer, don't you? Do you know it?
It's something like lies a body of name unknown or something
yes.
Like that. It's
got it.
Ooh, sleeps a skull of name unknown. There we go.
Uncle Duck got stuck in the tub.
And went completely quackers.
Yes, it's one of the only ones that doesn't rhyme, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't as impressed with the rhyming on the new stones, shall we say.
No.
Some people at home getting them.
Yeah.
Baroness Frost was born to rule.
Something
and lost the duel.
Yeah, we know it's
something,
Jewel.
something. Jewel.
Like lost the duel or something.
Yeah, I think that.
Sadly lost
Until the
duel.
day she lost the jewel.
Oh,
She's not real.
I know they're not real gravstones, but it's just so
Cousin Joel dug for coal.
Oh, it's something like pray for his soul in the dark black hole or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember his black hole, but I can't.
4 rhyming lines.
Oh, it was pray for his soul. I thought I was making that up.
It's like pray for a soul in the black hole.
Sound like Disney now.
Sort of like Western.
R.I.P. Charlie B.
Left behind in the factory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I say, I'm not a big
Behind
nerd
his
when it
chocolate
comes to
factory, yeah.
these.
Dearly missed is Grandad Moore.
Cut in half by a rip saw.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah,
It's Deadly
yeah.
Rip Saw, yeah.
That's good.
It's
Oh,
Rip
you're
Saw,
so
it's
good
good.
at
Cut in two by a deadly rip saw. I'm very sorry.
But yeah, that was the.
You got the rhyme. That's all you need. As you can get, if you can get the rhyme, guys, then it works,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
As long as you can go
Yeah.
something.
Something Ripsaw.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Thompson knife's in it as well, cut in two by a deadly ripsaw
Yeah,
Did you-
people
as
are getting
well.
them.
So
People
well
are
done,
getting them.
guys.
Did you see the other Ripsaw Easter egg that's near Gloomy Wood?
Yes, that was before the camera was.
I remember someone saying something in the. So when you meant. Yeah, wasn't there the actual. There was a Ripsaw in there.
Yeah, in there, and also there's one between Forbidden Valley and Gloomy Wood.
I've not seen that.
The
I
old,
didn't go to Forbidden Valley apart from when I
I've
went
not
home.
seen that one. Have a look again.
the old confectionery shop that used to be in between
Oh, yes,
Forbidden
of course.
Valley is about like a arboricultural shop, and it says the Ripsaw blades available.
Oh, cool.
They've tried to ask for one, they wouldn't
Never
give you one.
noticed that.
So
That was one thing that surprised me at the Alton Manor retheme, which again it's a nice little Easter egg that says that the old Gloomywood telephone booth still exists.
Yeah,
Because that's a really nice painted sign. That I was quite surprised they kept it.
was it? I've not got the photo. Was it Theme Park Guide, Joss, that took a photo of?
Sorry.
Wasn't there something displayed on top of something and it had a load of dark rides like Wicked Witch's Haunt and everything on it?
yeah. In the shop, there's a feedback.
Oh, one of those tablets.
Yeah, and the tablet stand is got is a load of large books that have different rides. Like I say, Wicked Witch's Haunt and all that Duel and all that kind of stuff. Can't too many to name. There's like 15 of them on there.
Hilariously, I can't remember the stack of books being there on opening day, but I'm not sure if that was a deliberate thing so that they could actually get proper feedback instead of loads of people going 5 stars, great, and then
There's a 2-hour queue for a feedback tablet.
Yeah,
I've not been to Nemesis. Did either of you go and look at Nemesis?
Yeah,
we looked at the wall.
I mean, there's not.
Whoa.
So, I mean, they've got this what's going to be a viewing platform to the side of Subterra, but the walkway down to the way you'd normally go to Nemesis is completely blocked off from, even before you get to the archway that said Nemesis on it, so you can't go anywhere near there. So you have to go around the other way, and it's pretty much all blocked off by walls, pretty much. You have to then go down them little stairs near the coffee shop if you can do a loop, and you have to go down the steps near the coffee shop. Whatever it's called. I want to say corn coffee, but it's not that.
You can go around the top side of the
Yeah, so you can go around from here to.
If you're going around there, they have actually got the entrance gates there, where of course they've got the holes to put a bolt slider through, so you can look through there, but you can't. You couldn't literally. You look through and you pretty much just got a view of the station.
The station and the exit ramp gone because they had to just take that out to get the track out.
Oh yes.
They're very tall as well, aren't they? The
I mean, I'm
as well. So I'm just wondering.
I'm like 6'2", and I just about got a photo.
Yeah.
You just about managed to climb over it.
Literally, I was like,
They get the armor.
I can tell you now, just based on our experience during the day, if you want the best view of the Nemesis construction area, go on Galactica.
Yeah.
It sits on the left-hand
I
side.
thought people go on that just for the lift hill.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a massive view just seeing Nemesis.
We went on it to have a look, and it was. I mean, Joss and you probably know I'm not particularly great with my heights, but it's one of those things where we're going up the lift hill and we're looking down and we can see the tunnel at the end of Nemesis where the corkscrew tracks comes out before it goes into the return loop for the station.
Yeah.
And of course, there's no track down there. And it's only when I looked down and I looked at the tunnel and I just went, oh, hang on, without the track in there, that is actually quite deep. Oh no, keep my head up.
Yeah.
He's developing fear of heights now.
I do the same.
You don't quite realise just how far down the ground goes for Nemesis until the track isn't there.
Yeah,
Go quite deep.
I heard the rumour for the upcharge, but I can't
wanted to pay for it.
I can't see him doing that.
Because once one person's done it, they take the photo and share it around. No one needs to pay to go. It's like someone going to a cinema and filming it while they're there. You don't need. No one else needs to pay because they'll just watch the copy.
Yeah, I imagine it was probably one person in the management team going, "Yeah, we could charge for this," and then
everyone else went, "Let's tell all our friends they've said that."
Yeah, and then everyone just looks at him and like, "No."
So what I'm going to do is we're probably going to overrun 8 o'clock a little bit. I think people are going to want to see these photos from Theme Park Guide about World of Jumanji. So I'm going to show those, and while we're showing those, me and Joss are going to multitask because Joss does JD's Booze Reviews, which is another channel of his, and we're both going to review this whilst we talk about World of Jumanji, which
just
is
prove I have it too.
Don't worry, I have my own beverage.
Yeah.
Do you want to show them what you've got? You've got the monster.
Sadly, I've got Marvel. I'm not proud of my mug. So
yeah, DC's better.
Yeah,
Coach Chicken's still watching.
It did have an Easter egg in it, so Spider-Man. There we go.
Because I think people are going to see. Because I don't. Well, it must have been confirmed now because other people have shown these photos, but it has got a row that's backwards at the back of it, which I didn't know for certain. Did you? I'm going to ask this because I asked when Ace were on the show. Did you get to keep the hat or the high-vis jacket?
No.
The same with them.
Sadly, not. I'd have liked to have kept it, but yeah. Oh, look, that's a nice back of my head. A very tight-fitting high-vis.
But if you could keep them, can you imagine how much the eBay market would fleece for them?
Yeah, I mean, I did see some people sneaking off of them. But
was one of them called Justin by any chance?
Maybe. No, can't possibly comment.
Well, we're part of ECC. We're allowed to make observations about them. Name's all good.
Yeah. James, the other half of Theme Park Guide, the southern side, and the CEO. If we have,
we've not got it on full screen here, but there are some other YouTubers in that picture.
Yeah, plenty.
Justin's there.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so lucky.
For anyone who watched
Theme Park Worldwide, there was Jack Silkstone, all that kind of stuff.
For anyone who watched last week, Justin's in the middle of that photo. He's the guy who said 13 was the world's first vertical drop on a roller coaster.
Lies and slander.
Yes, we're going to get some photos up in a minute. Iconic Geek. All these photos are from Theme Park Guide. I've put all their socials in the description, so go take a look. I just want to get some photos of that inversion as well, but
yeah,
look at that though.
That's gonna have a nice entrance at one point, and there's gonna be sound effects that happen. Like there's gonna be sound of monkeys as it goes over the inversion.
Yeah.
Are they? I know it's still quite a bit of time, but May's not that far away. Are they going to have the theming all done by then? I mean, the roller coaster's in, but
they should do. I mean, most of it was there when we visited last month. But
I think from what I'd seen, they put the foliage in.
Yeah, I've seen recently today because Chessington opened today, and James was there, and they've got a load of palm trees ready to go in and stuff.
Yeah,
that's quite a cool effect. The middle was quite a cool effect. It's like if you stand at a certain point, it looks like that text is sort of standing up.
Walking with the Woods.
Hey, Walking with the Woods.
Tell us what you thought of the curse. We've already talked about it, but we'll put your opinions across.
Yeah, I mean, like you can see there, they already had quite a lot of foliage already in. So
testing.
It's going to be quite.
What was it like to see it testing?
Do you know what though?
Yeah, it was impressive.
Did it have much of a sound to it? Wouldn't have had a roar, but
no, it had a very faint roar. But yeah, I mean, you could hear the launch, but after that, it's pretty silent to be fair.
Do you know what though? From a photographer point of view, I think it's nice that they've put those sort of like trees and things there because you get so many different angles.
Yeah.
So many different photos in different seasons. So it'd be nice to see what it looks like over time when it grows a bit more, or they trim it down or whatever, and just to get different photos of the ride.
And
so done quite well there.
I know you've not had a chance to ride it, obviously, but I'm guessing it doesn't have any kind of launch to go back. It's just relying on whatever that drop is there.
I'm sure there's a launch just before
on that top bit,
just before the initial the helix, I guess you'd call it. There is one just before that, but I think it's one was like a little bit of a buffer launch. It's not a full powered launch.
I wasn't sure on the top of that bit there where you see the end of it on the right hand side one near the. Is that a Jaguar? A cheetah? I don't know what. I've not seen the newer films.
Yeah, I believe.
But I don't know if that's. Has that got a lift to in it like a normal boomerang? Like a lift, chain lift, sorry.
No, it's all launched.
Mm.
So it launches you back out of the station, and then you go up that little spine on the left. There you go forwards, go about, I think it's about 60 something miles an hour through the station.
Wow.
It was pretty nippy because we were in the station when it launched, tested a few times, and it had some speed to it.
Mm.
And then it basically makes it all the way around and then comes back, and it makes a very abrupt stop in the station. It'd be interesting to see how that goes. But
how many G's do you think the brake run's going to pull?
70.
There we go. The back row is backwards.
Yeah,
I'm so excited for this ride, honestly.
but it's like I don't really know what the point of it is, because it's a boomerang, it goes forward and backwards.
I suppose it's a slightly different experience, but I'm surprised they haven't done it with more.
I guess the only difference is on the back row you'll go up the initial that sort of C-shaped spine.
Yeah.
But you won't on the way back, because it doesn't go. It's not like traditional boomerangs where it goes back up the bit that it kind of started, like the what gave it the initial momentum. It comes back straight into the station.
Yeah.
Rather than
so it doesn't overshoot the station and then
it overshoots a little bit and then comes forward to go into the line with the gates, but only like 5-10 centimeters, like not a massive amount really.
There we go. Is that the first inversion at Chessington?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on what kind of swing you get on Vampire. You might get slight inversion on there, but I have had it a few times on Vampire when I've gone on it and it's hit the furthest it can go, and it's like
these are like the other rides as well, aren't they? That are added
I only
in
got
that
this
area.
photo.
So that's quite.
So I thought the snake looked very happy
because they had that, and then they've got an ostrich one or something. I'm trying to remember which other ones they've got.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Which other ones did they have?
The comment about the way Mandrel's facing, the Mandrel only goes forward. We asked that question, and they said they didn't want to do it on the back because then it would look like there's a load of Mandrel running backwards around the land.
But there's a lot more photos on your actual website. I didn't want to nick them all.
Yeah, we took quite a few, and one of the things we do that's I guess the unique thing is we do live blogs essentially, which essentially
on the Instagram,
just on a website, live.themeparkguide.co.uk, and it's just constant updates that automatically feed in as we post them. So on the day we will literally be doing 60, 70 updates throughout the day, just us going about the place, and we've done loads. I think we did one today actually. James did one at Chessington. So
he's been today. Yeah,
if you go on that website, you'll see his updates from that today, and then
it'll be on the Theme Park Guide Instagram, which is in the description as well.
Yeah.
Did you want to give?
Go on.
Oh, you can go.
I was to say we usually post from the live that have a link to the live on our Instagram and Facebook, so you can probably find it on there.
Because you're the expert. Did you want to give a brief review on this beer that we said we'd review?
Yeah, I mean, we had a nice chat about Curse. It was fine.
So people are asking, how's the beer?
I'll stick to my caffeine tank.
It's very citrusy.
Yeah, it's more citrusy than I expected. So it's meant to be a hot cross bun pale ale, which essentially I think this brewery's done it a few times where they've done a bit of like rather than wasting a load of food, they just make a beer out of it, like a Christmas, Christmas.
And just label it.
The Christmas pudding one.
It reminds me of a more citrusy version of Ghost Ship.
Hmm.
I like the little thing at the back saying,
Hot cross buns.
you can see it.
Can-
Crossbows are wasted every
10.5
Easter.
million.
So yeah, I think they just chucked it into here. They probably just use it as a replacement for probably some of the grain or something like that. But it tastes like just a regular pale ale.
Just a bit about some stuff that, because I've got Rob on because he's quite a creative guy, so it was good for him to talk about the curse. But I've got some photos of some things he's done, so I'll show those off quick. Do you want to explain to the people?
No, I'm trying to think of where to start. I'm a creative person, but like most creative people, I'm not particularly good with words. So one thing I do in my spare time is I build model railways. Essentially, what you're essentially looking at here is, and some people might have really clocked it in the background, is you can actually just see Alton Towers there. So I'm modeling narrow gauge. So what you're seeing here is 4 millimeters to the foot scale. The tracks are about 9 millimeters apart. Essentially, it's modeling like stuff they have in North Wales. But the reason why I decided to do Alton Towers as a subject is a lot of people may remember that there was a railway in the park. It was actually one of the first attractions they added in there in about 1953, I want to say, it opened, and it lasted till 1996. If anybody wants to read more on the actual Alton Towers one, there's a book by Peter Scott online, full PDF, you can access it, it's got all the photographs in there. But just over from Alton Towers, heading in the direction of Denstone, just over the road, there was an old house. It's still there. It's called Dudley's. It was a garden centre for ages. But the guy who lived there was a guy called Arthur Percival Hayward, and he had this very wacky ambition of all these big estate houses were going to have miniature railways running around them. If you go online, you search for something called the Duffield Bank Railway, you'll see one he built just outside Derby. It's got bridges, tunnels, viaducts, everything you can imagine. It's basically like a big showroom in the grounds of his estate. And he was going to build one at Dudley's just outside Denstone. But sadly, due to the war, it never got away. But in his entire life, he only had one customer. But although there's no evidence to support it, I'd say it's very likely that because this was the late 1800s, he must have sent an invitation to the Talbots to say, hey, do you want one of these Alton Towers? Nothing, to suggest that at all, but I'd be very surprised if it wasn't sent there. So I've just basically tried to model what if, like a big estate railway going through the towers, but using the actual park railway as a basis there. This one you're seeing now is, again, you'll notice it's the same engine, it's the same scale, but this is what I like to dub as my garden railway. So most people have a tiny garden, a tiny railway even in their back gardens. I've gone and made a tiny garden for my railway to live in.
Oh, that's amazing.
I've actually got it here on my desk right now. Mike, if you want to put up a big screen of me, I can actually show you just how small this is. There we go. I'm trying to get used to using the mirrored webcam.
Oh, wow.
But basically, this is 16 by 6 inches. And that essentially was my lockdown project.
How long did that take to make?
Oh, wow.
So I literally built that out of bits and odds and ends that I had around the house. If you want to read more on that, there's a free magazine online called the Micro Model Railway Dispatch. It's totally free to read. There's about 7 or 8 issues now. The 8th one just released this last weekend. And I believe it's issue 5 is the one that the Garden Railway features in. It's right in the very back. I couldn't help that. That's the editor's choice. But if you want to read more on that, you can read on that there.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's good though.
That's such. How do you concentrate for I just.
Sometimes I ask myself. Sometimes I ask myself this because this will give you an idea of just some of the levels I go to. This was a tool wagon I started putting together. I'll hold this up to the webcam. There are.
Big again.
There are. If I can hold it steady and remember, there are tiny, like spades and G clamps.
Oh my word! I can see them as well.
Everything in there. This is the level of tiny detail I go
Oh,
to. It's oddly therapeutic, which is surprising given
when
how
it goes
small
wrong, though.
I'm gonna admit, you kind of. It's a bit of like mindfulness of.
It's a bit like when these where I described it to someone at work was like when I was doing all the ballast, which is the stone you get between railway tracks, because of course you have to use really, really tiny chippings. They're like 0.1 of a mil, putting them on there. And he was saying, how do you do this? And I said, honestly, it's like having the world's tiniest Japanese Zen garden and you're going around with a paintbrush.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I just find it amazing that you just get so much detail behind it. But if it's just amazing the fact that you just got so much joy out of it as well. Like
again,
I'd be shaking, but it's just
again, this is one of those things where it's a bit like the Curse of Alton Manor. The more you look at it, the more little things you see that I've put in there that you wouldn't notice before. It's like, for example, if you took long enough and looked at the little model house I've got here and looked in one of the windows, you would see a desk that's got newspapers on it. There's a tiny chair. There's about so many bookcases in it. There's no lights in there, so you can't see it lit up. You've really got to look. I didn't plan for anybody.
That'll be the next thing. Get a little LED.
I didn't plan for anybody to see any of that, but I know it's there, so that kind of satisfies me.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's just awesome.
So,
do you have a website of your creations? Just put
for me,
them on the website.
no, not yet.
Oh, no.
I keep saying to myself, I'm going to go start the blog, but as I've said before, I'm not particularly good with words, so I kind of fall at the first hurdle, if I'm honest.
You just do like a photo and a little description, you'll be fine.
Yeah, but as I've said, if people want to read more about that particular one, I haven't written anything up about the Alton Towers one yet, because if I'm being totally honest, the photos that layout you saw has actually been scrapped. I am currently working on the new version of it. In fact, if we there we go, that's the Mark 7 version starting. And the idea is it's going to be it's not going to be like the other one I showed you, because the other one was essentially it's what they call a pizza, and basically it's just a loop of track that goes around the circle, and I divided it into 3 scenes. So one of them was in Gestury by the courtyard, one of them was the gardens, the other one was going to be Garden Holt, which is where the musical tombstones are.
Oh yeah,
Hollow. That's where one of the old stations used to be. There were 3 Garden Holts. Kind of, they progressively cut it back over the years. But basically, for this new one, it's going to be at the other end, because the original station for the railway, and they did have a bit of a turntable. It's where Marauders Mayhem was today.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't recognise the site at all if you saw it. The only structure that you can recognise from what photos there are is the barn where they have all the grab claw machines. You can recognise the gable end.
I know what you mean.
yeah.
It is like a barn building.
Yeah.
No, basically just taken one wall out and just put a load of supports in. But that's the only building you can recognise in photos. And there's a little bit of the welcome in. There's one photograph of the train that's taken from the old footbridge they used to have, pointing down there, and the train's running through what's now the beer garden. So basically that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to model that in, but I'm going to, instead of where Marauders Mayhem is now, I'm going to sink a big turntable. I'm just going to have loads of engines moving about, because that seems to be my thing at the minute. I had a stock take the other day, and it's something like I have 18 engines to 3 carriages, which is very much overkill.
Oh, I've got a question.
Would you reopen Alton Station or a shuttle? I don't know. There's call for it.
I believe there was a plan to actually.
Oh, was there?
I am fairly certain this is what I have heard. Now, naturally, don't quote me on this. I am by no means affiliated with the Churnet Valley Railway or anything, but I am fairly certain I heard that there was a plan. This must have been close to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Somebody said that there was a plan, but as with many things, it never quite got off the ground. Apparently, there were like prospectuses handed around again. I don't know how true that is. I got all this from a third-party source that told me. So naturally, take everything with a pinch of salt is my advice. But from what I heard, this prospectus sounded like it was going to be, they want to do a tower service, but the first train wouldn't get there till about 11. And that's actually at the station. And then it was something like the last train back is going to be something like 4 o'clock. And that doesn't factor in getting from the station to the towers.
Yeah, it's like
You had to run a shuttle for that as well.
when you used to have buses. When you used to have buses, like it gets there 2 hours later and needs to leave 3 hours before the park shut. So
yeah.
okay,
But
that's how I used to get to Towers, by the old bus service from Nottingham. And yeah, that's the thing.
But as an aside, Alton Station is a very nice place as it is. I have been inside. I very graciously bumped into the owner a couple of years ago when I was doing some. Well, no, more than a couple of years ago. It was before the pandemic. I happened to be doing some sketches there, and he showed me around. It's a very nice place. If you do get the chance to go inside it, do go, because the thing that amused me about it is you see the structure, and you've got the old booking hall, and you've got the station master's house. The station master's house is built like a lighthouse. So when you go inside, you've got the big tower bit, and literally all the stairs are going around the outside of it, and the rooms are in the middle. But it's really fun. The only thing I'd say is a bit awkward about it is it's a case of literally the kitchen is, I think, in the station bit, and the main living area and bedrooms are in the other bit, and you've got to walk outside to go between the two of them. And I mean, I don't know, some people may get enjoyment from walking along a station platform in Alton at 7 a.m. in their pajamas, but maybe not me, but I won't judge. But it's a very nice place.
Oh, that'd be nice to look into.
Yeah, they were meant to get an expressway, weren't they? I'm answering Dan's question at the bottom.
Sorry.
That's what the car park charge was for originally, and then they realised, oh, the expressway can't happen, so let's just keep the money and keep charging people for fuck.
It's a shame that they can't open. I mean, I don't know what the land situation is at all, but it's a shame that they can't open up the old Quickshill Gate from just by Denstone Church and have it good, because that used to be the old drive going into the grounds at one point. But literally, you could get from there across the fields up to the bottom of the car park by the lodges.
Really?
If they owned the land. Whatever, I don't know what the situation is there at all, but literally the old carriage drive, one of the old carriage drives, there were quite a few into the grounds. You used to go from that road. Well, actually, in the original, if you stayed on that road, eventually you would come out on the Haunted Hollow.
See, I thought like years ago, this was like when I was at school myself and visiting Alton Towers, but I thought years ago they were on about doing like a train like internally, like they would do for like American Adventure, where it'd just be inside the actual grounds and you'd sit on the train.
That'd
like
nice.
Drayton Manor have actually. There you go. They've got one still, haven't they? So I thought of something like, I thought that's what they were talking about. Obviously, it might be a different type of train.
There were plans to extend the Park Railway at one point to help deal with people. I saw it, but basically it was a case of the amount of volume of people coming in. Yeah. It couldn't cope with it, which is why we ended up with the monorail.
Yeah. I think that's probably what it was then. But I just remember that one little bit, and I'm like, oh, now it's come up.
Have you got any thoughts on the Alton Towers? Well, not Alton Towers, the Alton station before we wrap it up, Joss?
It sounds very nice.
You never even noticed it was there, did you?
I just am driving past it.
I have a question though, like steam trains or diesel trains?
Oh, steam. Always.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I had to ask that because
I'm not massively against diesel. Don't get me wrong.
No.
Or electric. Let's not be trainist. But no. For me, I mean, it's a case of I came from a railway family background, but this was railway family going back like to the 1960s to one of the biggest depots outside of London. So for me, it's always been stories of steam trains.
Oh, I love it.
But fun little story before we wrap up, because I know you want to. It just concerned Alton Station. It's one of those things that people should look out for next time they're there, which is Alton Station is very unique in the fact it's the only station on the Churnet Valley line that isn't in a Gothic style. Now, if it was in a Gothic style, it would have matched the towers and it would have matched the gatehouse across the road. But I don't think the person who designed the station at Alton was particularly fond of Pugin's work at Towers. So they designed it in an Italian style, so it's the only one on the line that clashes with all the buildings and the surroundings it was trying to match.
Do you reckon he might have like had an Italian descent then or something like that, and probably thought, yeah, I want to keep that.
No,
I don't want anything to do with that.
It's weird because as I say, that all the stations were roughly, give or take a year or two, were built around the same time in the same style, and then you get this odd one on its own, which seems to be a bit of a, I can describe it as a bit of an up yours to
protest.
Even the Trekking Tailors is saying that the station is now a holiday let as well, so maybe we'd have to look at that at one point and have a quick nosy. Go on some steam trains.
Let's go with
I'd
them.
love to go on steam trains.
We'll have to join the Trekking Tailors going to Dimmingsdale, is it, at some point? Because they walk down there. That's nice.
And there was one time, I remember when we went with Theme Park James a couple of years ago on a steam train. And Mike was like, I'm not too sure about this.
Well, I was not too sure about it. I just didn't know if I was going to be interested.
I love it because I've shoved my head out the windows before I'm going, hi! To the conductors. But yeah.
No, we went on that.
I'm not that embarrassing.
I was wearing an NWO shirt. And the guy who was the conductor was a wrestling fan, and he was getting in trouble because he just sat down with us and started talking about wrestling.
You meet all sorts of people. You because of the volunteer nature of it now. You meet so many people of so many different professions that you'd never meet otherwise. It's incredible.
It's amazing. Like the people, like volunteers that go and join in as well to keep the steam trains going. I think I just so much appreciation. So yeah. It's lovely the fact that you're carrying it on as well with your models and things.
Well, to an extent.
Yeah, but it's lovely, honestly. From a creative to another creative, I think it's wonderful.
Is there anything Joss wants to plug before he goes?
So yeah, Theme Park Guide and JD's Booze Reviews on YouTube is my beer review channel that I'm kind of starting up and trying to go a bit. I started it last year, but I kind of things happened. I didn't get around to doing more, but this year I'm doing a lot more. It's kind of trying to do weekly, 2 week bi-weekly. So yeah, that's the big one really.
Bluebell Railway.
Bluebell Railway. I'm going to Google that, Daniel.
Do you already know about the Bluebell Railway?
Someone's near Sheffield Park.
That's where I'm originally from, Sheffield.
And next week we've got Joe and Ella on from Thrillwave, and Ella's worked at Thorpe Park, so we might get some stories we're not meant to hear. I don't know. Look forward to that. I don't know. It depends if she enjoyed working there or not. We'll find out next week.
But yeah, thank you all for taking the time out.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
And
thanks for coming on, guys. I feel like I overbooked an hour's worth of. I thought we were going to get through it so quick. I was like, we need to do this.
We didn't.
It didn't help us going room by room of Alton Manor.
Yeah.
How else are you supposed to view a property?
Very true.
Has anyone else had the problem that they say the name and they're like, is it at or of Alton Manor? And the way I chose to remember it was AT is Alton Towers. So that's how I remember it's the curse at Alton Manor, not the curse of.
Do you know, I never noticed that. Never twigged that.
Yeah, it's because
I started saying the curse of, and I was like, actually, is it of or is it at? And then I thought it's at, and then I remembered it by saying Alton Towers is AT, so it's at Alton Towers.
I questioned that, and I got told basically it's not the manor that's cursed; it's just there is a curse at the manor rather than the actual property being cursed.
Wasn't that salesman, was it?
the salesman.
But yeah, the. Well, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say thank you all for watching and taking your time as well. Give us a like and obviously follow the socials.
Go and see Trekking Tailors because they've put some vlogs up and some of them are still going. I think I've watched the first two. They went to Florida for 2 days this past weekend because they got tickets to go on Tron.
I'm so jealous.
So they went Friday to Sunday. It's epic vlog.
Dedication.
It's insane. So go over and watch that. And I've also linked. I think I've linked the Bears Escape in the description, but their vlog premiered at 8, so get over there and watch it and catch up if you've missed it already.
Hope you have a lovely time, Daniel, at Chessington as well. We haven't been in ages. It'll be fab to go on.
We're going to go in May with Theme Park James. And yeah, just appreciate you coming on, and I'm sorry to everyone if we overran.
Thank you as well, Ross and Rob as well for coming on our show. It's been lovely.
Yeah, it's been good.
Wonderful.
Did you want to say the catchphrase, Joss?
Yes. Literally, I had it in my head for a second ago, and I was like, hang on, now you've asked me to do it, I forgot what it is. So I'll let you take it, because I've gone blank.
So we'll see you
in the review.
because for now
We're gone.
bye.